Hi guys, it's the Black Bonsai guy here, and today I'll be talking to you guys about the right time to repot. I see this question come up a lot in a lot of the gardening groups, especially amongst beginner gardeners. They want to know when is the right time to repot. So I have three examples of a good time to repot. Now of course, I water these guys daily. This is actually a agave plant right there, and it's actually getting too much water because it's underneath something that I water pretty good daily. Agaves don't need that much water. That's why you see the leaves are yellow there. This is the one in the middle is a passion fruit, and the one on the right in the red pot is a loquat. And you can see, I'm going to show you how you can tell. So for demonstration purposes, I'll add water to this one, and to that one. Now, if you notice the passion fruit, this one in the middle here, that water's sitting in there quite a while. I just bought these passion fruits about 2 weeks ago. They had a guy in town that was selling them. And you can tell that it's taking quite a while for that water to drain out of that pot. Now the loquat, on the other hand, of course, I made that soil. It's a good draining soil. There's no water being held in there. And that agave shoot over there, there's some rough bonsai soil, I believe, that's in the bottom of that pot. To be honest, I don't even really know. So the first sign that you can tell that you generally need to do a repot is just by looking at how fast the water goes throughout the soil. And I'll tilt it. I don't know if you can see that, but there's still a puddle of water in there. Let me get closer. See that puddle of water? You don't want that. You don't want your plants just sitting in that water all day. To me, that tells me that the soil is too compacted. All of the organic material in the soil has broken down, and water is not penetrating through the pot like it needs to. That can lead to root rot. It can actually kill your plant, or it can stunt its growth. Just looking at the soil that the guy planted that in, I could tell that that's not the best soil for a passion fruit. I'm gonna be doing a repot on this pretty soon and putting it in the right type of soil. But just to recap, the first method is understanding how fast water moves throughout the pot. That can be a good indicator. If it's sitting there too long, go ahead and get it out of that soil and put it in a well-draining soil, depending on the type of plant. Some plants love to sit in water. Some don't. You have to understand the needs and requirements of your plant. But on average, most plants don't like to sit in water, or trees for that matter. The next telltale sign that you need to do a repot is your soil line. As you can see on this loquat, I grew this from a seedling, actually from a seed. I'm sorry. I can put half of my finger in that pot. The soil line on this is way too low. It's probably fine being in here for another 6 months, maybe a year. That's pushing it. But loquats, they like to send their roots out. They like to spread their wings and grow, if you will. So I'll be doing a repot on that one. Don't know if I'm gonna do it yet, but it's definitely on the repotting list. And here's another example. So just to recap on the loquat in the passion fruit. Number one, it takes a long time for water to drain out of your pot. Number two, the soil level in your pot has lowered. And generally when you see the soil line in your pot getting low, generally speaking, that's because you have ports on the bottom of it. See? And that's where your soil is just flushing out right there. So you can put a screen over that. You could put gravel over the bottom of that to keep some of your soil in there. I don't particularly do any of that stuff. I just put bottles in the bottom of most of my pots to allow better drainage. And my third and final example is you'll start to see roots coming out of the bottom of your plant. See that? Those roots. That's a good indication that it's time to repot. and that looks like some coconut husk in there that I'm growing it in. Probably not the best medium for this agave. I'll take care of it and get this guy back in good shape soon. But I just wanted to do a quick video to show you guys some examples of when you should, how you can identify the best times to do repotting on it. And also another thing I wanted to show you. Notice this right here. This was actually on the bottom, sitting on the bottom of that. A lot of times, if you have poor draining soil, you need to check the bottom of your pots to make sure you don't have things clogging up your drain holes. If you do have something clogging it up, just go ahead and stick a hanger or something skinny in those drain holes and remove it. More than often, more than not, especially on indoor plants. That's one of the things you want to check. Now, let's say you can't afford to just always keep rechanging your soil and doing all those things to it. Well, there's methods you can do to aerate the soil. The thing that I do is I just take the pot and I sit it on the ground and I let Mother Nature take its course. What'll happen is Mother Nature will send earthworms up, and earthworms are your friend in gardening. And these earthworms, they'll crawl through that hole, they'll get into the pot, and they'll start eating away. They'll actually cure a plant. If you have roots that are rotting, they'll eat those rotted roots completely off the plant, which will induce or cause the plant to grow fresh roots, which will have a positive benefit because you have more vegetation above the ground. But those earthworms will go in there and they'll loosen that soil up in no time. I don't recommend that method if you are not 100% sure of what's in the soil. I bought this from a guy, like I said, about 2 weeks ago. So I'm not sure what's in that soil. So I'll knock most of that off of there and get it in a fresh, well-draining soil. So again, just to recap, 3 ways that I tell. I'm sure there's thousands more ideas and thoughts on when you should repot. But again, number one, and this goes also for bonsai as well. If you're starting to water your bonsai and you start to notice that that it's taking a while for the water to penetrate through the pot, it's probably a time to address the top layer of soil. A lot of times you may want to add a fresh top layer of soil, but not necessarily do a repot. But that's a whole different conversation and discussion there. While I'm on that point, I do want to point out that you don't necessarily always have to go to a bigger pot. Remember, I could stick half of my hand in there. This is probably about 30% of the pot that's not being used. All you gotta do is take this out, add fresh soil to it, and go right back into this pot. The only time you really should consider doing a repot is every 2 years, and or if you start to see roots come out the bottom. If you see roots come out the bottom, then you generally want to step up in pot. If you're in bonsai and you see roots come out the bottom, you cut those roots off and you go back into the same pot. So that's it. Video's been long enough. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them below. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to share the video. It's the Black Bonsai Guy. I'm out.